Hello and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be explaining what is the DOM in JavaScript. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you want to get notified every time that I upload a new video, you can hit that ring bell. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started in today's episode, the first thing that I need you guys to do is go to MDN. And in MDN, I want you to type on the search box the word DOM. Okay, DOM. And I am going to click on the first article, and you probably are going to have the same results. So just look for something that says DOM and in parentheses, document object model. That's the article that we are going to be using in today's episode. Now, another thing that I have open in here is the code that we have been working so far with. And of course, the website that we have created for that code. So here I have the code for JavaScript, and here we have the index. Now, what I am going to do is clear everything that I have written so far in the JavaScript code. I'm going to hit save to this. And then going back to my doc type, I'm going to make a couple of changes to this code so that you can understand what the DOM is. And you know, have a clear picture in what we are doing in here. So first thing I am going to erase is this bottom part here in the head section, all meta tags. I'm going to delete them in here. Let me just make sure I set this up correctly. There you go. It looks better. Another thing I am going to do is probably make this an H1 instead of an H2. Okay, and I am also going to add a paragraph in here. So I'm just going to say this is a paragraph. And another thing that I am going to do is add an image in here, just to give you a quick example of the DOM. Okay, so now in this image, I want to say that the source is going to be, I think I have an image called example in this folder. So I am going to call this image example.jpg. And let's see. Okay, yeah, so example. And then let me just create an alt. And I will call this example image. Okay, so this is going to have those two attributes. And then, of course, we're closing the body section. Now here, I am going to delete the script just for now. Okay. So don't worry about the script tag for now, because today you're going to be learning the basic concept in what is the DOM. So we don't need that for now. Okay, for this, at least for this video tutorial. Okay, and then another thing I do want to do will be, well, let me just delete here this other attribute, and I'm just going to make all of this properly indented, so that you can see what I am talking about in today's episode. Okay, I think, yeah, I think that this is fair enough for the explanation that we are going to be doing in today's chapter. Okay, so, well, first, let's go ahead and let's open MDN, because the first thing that you need to understand is what is the DOM, right? So, in MDN, it says that the DOM, it stands for Document Object Model. It says that it is an API. Okay, now if you do not know what an API is, you can click here, and it explains that it is an application programming interface. It's a set of features and rules that exist inside of a software program, which is the application enabling interaction with it through software. Okay, so it's a, we can say that it's an interface, right? So now let's go back again to the DOM. So reading again. So the DOM is an API that represents and interacts with any HTML or XML document. Now, the DOM is a document model loaded in the browser and representing the document as a node tree. Pay close attention to this node tree, because this is very important to understand the DOM. Now, where each node is going to represent a part of the document. So it could be a text string or a comment or whatever you see inside of that document. Now, the DOM is the most used APIs on the web because it allows code running in the browsers to access and interact with every node in the document. Nodes can be created, they can be moved, and they can be changed. Event listeners can be added to nodes and trigger an occurrence of a given event. Now, if all this is too complex for you, let me just explain in human words what is the DOM. Okay, so let's understand first the acronym. So it says here it's a document, object, model, right? Okay, so when they talk about the document, they're talking about this portion right here. If you open HTML, because it says here, it interacts with HTML or XML document, right? So the document they're talking about is this portion right here, is the index.html and everything that it's included within that index, right? So this portion right here is the document. All that you write in this index.html file is what it's called the document in the DOM, right? So this is the document. Now, when they say object, it means that this document, in order to work for or with JavaScript, this document is going to be converted or parsed into an object, right? So the code and all of this is happening, in the background. But what JavaScript is doing is that it's converting this document into an object. Now, you already know what an object is, and I hope you're clear about that concept. But if you're not, you can go back to our previous episodes, or you can just leave your questions in the comment section below so I can reply as soon as I can. But then that's pretty much about it. It's you get this document, you convert, JavaScript will convert this document into an object. So the model, when they talk about the model here, so the then in the model, right, it means that JavaScript can manipulate it, right? It can manipulate anything that it's written in here. JavaScript can either add things, remove things, change colors, add a specific type of style, etc. Right? So again, the document object model, it's pretty much a document that gets converted into an object so that JavaScript can interact with it and can make changes. Okay? That way we're going to make dynamic websites so that users can interact with. Okay? So that's what the DOM is. Now, let's talk a little bit more, because then it says here that the document is a document model loaded in the browser and is representing the document as a node tree. So when this document is converted into an object, you know how an object has different type of properties and it has a couple of methods. So it's going to happen the same thing with this document. Once it's converted into an object, this is going to have also a whole bunch of properties and methods that you will be able to access to. So for that, this document, when it's converted into an object, you can see it like it's converted in a structure of a tree, right? So the head of the tree is going to be, let's say, this tag right here, the HTML tag, right? And this is considered a node, by the way. Now, let me just go ahead and explain you a little bit in exactly what the node is in context so that you can have a clear understanding of this. So in the context, right, of the document object model, the DOM, right, a node is a basic unit of the document structure. Now, each node will represent an element like this one right here, HTML, head, title. So each of these tags will be represented and will be called a node in JavaScript. Okay. Now, not only the tags will be a node, also you are going to call a node this portion of text in here. That is another type of node. And then you see this thing right here that it says source, and then this one that says alt. Those two are nodes. So what you're going to see in this overall website is that there are 3 type of nodes that we could say that exist in the document tree. So being that said, the nodes are divided into 3. You have element nodes, right? Which again are the titles, head, body, H1, the P, the image. Those are element nodes. Then you will have attribute nodes, which is, let's say as an example, this thing right here, which is also an attribute in HTML, of this element. Now, if you do not know what an attribute is, then that means that you haven't studied HTML real well. So I encourage you to go back to HTML and read a little bit more about it, because on HTML, this is an attribute and this is another attribute, right? So in JavaScript, the second type of nodes that we have is a node attribute. So this node itself here, it's called attributes nodes, right? The source and alt. And then we have another type of node, which are the text nodes. And the text nodes is simply this portion of code right here. Is the text that is written inside of an example on each one, or inside of a P, which stands for a paragraph, as you already know. That is what we call the text nodes, right? Which is converted into a string in JavaScript. So remember, those are the three types of nodes. And then the document, as I said, is when it's converted into an object, it'll have the structure of a tree. Now, inside of that tree, you will find a couple of nodes. So here we could say that the first node that you will find, because each node could have childs, the parent node will be, let's say, HTML, right? Now, this is the first node, because as you can see this big line right here, that's why I wanted to indent everything real good, so that you can see how many childs they have. So this HTML tag has two childs, the head section and then the body section, as you can see in here. So it has two childs, right? Those are two child nodes. Now, inside of the head node, we have another child node, which is the title node, right? So this is the child of the head section. Now, in the body section, we find three childs, which is the H1, the P, and then the image that we just added into our code, right? So these are the three nodes that the body section has. So again, HTML, this is the first node that you will find in here. Then you're going to have the head section. Then you're going to have the body section, which are two nodes inside of the two childs of the HTML node, which is the first one, right? Then inside of the head section, we have one child. Inside of the body section, we have three child nodes. This is just so that you can understand the tree, right? And then, of course, we will have attribute nodes inside of images, which are example, this one right here, source, and then alt. And then we have the text nodes, right, that we talk about, which is the document, this portion right here, and this portion right here. Anything that's text, that'll be considered a text node in JavaScript. So, I mean, so far, I hope that you are clear in what a node is, because this example right here, it wraps up what is the DOM for you. And this is just a quick explanation. We're going to be taking a look at the DOM in more depth in episode, but I just want you to have the basic concept in what is the DOM and what you can do with it in JavaScript, because we're going to be using things like document, get element by ID of, I don't know, whatever, and then do this and that to this ID, right? And that's why we use the word document, because it's referring to the document that is then created into an object, so that JavaScript can, play around with it, can manipulate it, and can change stuff for us. And well, just understand, again, that the document, once is converted into an object, it'll have a tree structure. And then inside of that tree structure, every single element, every single attribute or text that it's inside of that tree, it's called a node, okay? So if you want to read a little bit more about nodes, you can go here to MDN and you can type in the keyword node, just like that. And let's just type in node DOM, okay? So node, and then in parentheses, it makes sure it says DOM. And then you can click on the first article and you're going to see here that it says, in the context of the DOM, a node is a single point in the node tree, right? Various things that are nodes are the documents itself, like element, text, and comments, as you can see in here, right? Now, if you want to find out a little bit more of nodes, you can also click here on this other article, which it says node objects, okay? You can click there, and then you're going to have a series of things that you can do with it, like instance properties as an example. The first child nodes, next siblings, etc. You need to understand the whole tree family of the HTML document so that you can start playing around with it. But this portion right here, you understanding the DOM and how its structure works, it's fundamental and it's super important when we get to manipulate things in the web. Because in this portion that we're going to be studying here, in this portion of the course, is where things get really exciting, because now we're not going to be only using the console.log to see something in here. We're actually going to be playing around with the website itself. If I click right now, refresh, let me just make sure I save this information and then I hit refresh. Okay, this is what we have written down so far. So again, when we're manipulating this portion or this document in JavaScript, this is going to be an object, and we're going to be playing around with this with different properties, the object properties and the object methods. So I just encourage you to go ahead and go to MDN and read a little bit more about the node, how it works, how you can go ahead and actually use the document type and do things with it. In our next chapter, I am going to start explaining to you what exactly or how exactly we can play around with the DOM in JavaScript. Okay, but for now, that was it for this tutorial, everybody. I hope that you have learned a lot in today's chapter. If you have questions, again, remember, you're a beginner. So if you have questions, leave them in the comment section below. So that way I can reply to you back as soon as I can. Okay. And well, remember, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you want to get notified every time that I upload a new video as well, make sure to activate the ring bell. That way you will get notifications every time that I am uploading a new chapter. Okay? And remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye, everyone, and see you again in the next episode.